It's a courtesy to our guests from Brussels, and I hope the Bulgarian audience doesn't mind. I'm going to represent a view of some scientists, not all scientists, of course. Essentially, these are the views of a group of people that teamed up and thought about the problems that we have in basic and applied research and innovations. And the group is listed here. Our informal leader is Professor Nikolai Denko from the chemistry department of Sofia University. And the group is mainly of people in natural sciences, as you see, chemistry, physics, and biology. And I'd like to extend special thanks to Benedict and to Mr. Nasusopoulos for constant support and ideas. And also to Chris Russell, who is from a nanotech company in Germany, for many ideas how to proceed. I speak on behalf of these people, and that we do not pretend to express the views of all the academic community, but I think we'll here I'll show quite a few ideas how to proceed. So I'm a little specific because scientists are usually not specific. We identified a few areas where smart specialization can really work in Bulgaria. To be honest, yesterday I came here without much idea of what smart specialization means. I knew each word what it meant, but I couldn't make much sense of it. I hope now I have a little more clear idea about what it is. So there are quite a few areas in Bulgaria where there is strong science and there is some strong business already, or there is potential for businesses, for innovation. ICT is usually put at number one in Bulgaria because there is, of course, a long tradition and there are many businesses here. We believe that because ICT is concentrated very much around Sofia, probably a good idea is to go beyond Sofia. For example, the biggest city in Bulgaria, Plovdiv, Varna, do not have that much ICT there, and there are many specialists from this city who come to Sofia. Maybe it would be a good idea to really distribute this and really create ICT clusters outside of the capital. Then there are more scientific parts of ICT which have good grounds in Bulgaria. For example, conventional computing has some traditions, particularly polymer electronics. And there is quantum and photonic technologies where I'm expert in this field. I work in quantum computing and quantum information, which is still not there on the market, but maybe it will be. Many people in the field say that the future is quantum, and one should go this way. And there is a lot of tradition in Bulgaria also in simulations. They are consumers of ICT, but they use supercomputers to create new materials, drugs, complex physical systems, image analysis, and so on. So this is sort of horizontal application of ICT to the other areas. Then there are the energies and the advanced materials. Bulgaria has good tradition in thin films and solar energy, solar panels, etc. And also in advanced functional materials as a part of material science, very important, where nanotechnology plays a major part. And there are life sciences, in which we have identified quite a few areas where there is a type of course like we have. Quite a few areas where Bulgaria can be competitive and can develop a lot of innovations. For example, drug design and delivery, and toxicology, particularly toxicological risk assessment, which is a very broad area and goes across various fields. And there is genetics, medical genetics, and general genetics, and regenerative medicine. And of course, food safety, production of ecological foods, and so on. I have many examples in each of these areas, but this is not the purpose of this meeting to go in such great detail. And now I'm going to advocate a little bit the importance of basic and applied science, because innovation certainly are impossible with basic and applied research. And I have some fresh example of Singapore, which you know is one of the richest countries in the world and one of the most competitive, if not the most competitive. Singapore developed very much in the last 30 years. There is a museum in Singapore which shows how it looked 30 years ago and now, and it's like a different planet. In Singapore developed largely upon innovation, but now there is an understanding that without basic science they cannot be sustainable. And they have created quite a few new universities, and I know this because a former PhD student of mine went to Singapore. She was 3 years a postdoc there, and now she is an assistant professor in Brown University, Singapore University of Technology, which is meant especially for basic research, basic and applied research, not for innovation. So they realize that innovation cannot be sustained without really solid science. And UK, I have another example of UK, which is quite personal because two universities there contacted me if I'm interested to move there. One was University of Sussex and another one was in Edinburgh, Kenneth Ross. It turned out that the state there decided to expand in natural sciences and they created new positions. In Sussex, 20 new positions, and in Edinburgh, 20 new positions. I guess this is the case all across UK. They try to recruit people from abroad with some expertise in fundamental basic research. And I must say with regret that natural sciences, mathematics and engineering are in Bulgaria and they need really state support and state policies to develop, particularly natural sciences and engineering. And this, one of the tools could be a separate operative programs on education and science in the new programming period, which we strongly wish and advocate. And this is how we see the structure of the innovations in Bulgarian science until 2020. We heard already quite a bit about the National Science and Technology Park, this pilot project, which we may very much hope it will happen. We heard about clusters, but probably it would be good to think also about 2 or 3 or 4 regional SMT parks. And we advocate the Sofia Institute of Technology, which would be an institute which will support the Science and Technology Park. And these two will work with attraction of leading researchers on abroad. This should happen, it must happen, because excellence should be promoted in this manner. And of course, the local policy should support Bulgarian research and excellence. I'll give a few details if I have time about it. And of course, support research universities and the academy. I'm not going to talk about the national SMT park and the regional SMT park because this topic was already covered. I think I don't have much time. But this is how we view the Sofia Institute of Technology. The major aim being to elucidate engineers and entrepreneurs in new and emerging technologies, ICT, pharma, etc. And the goal would be to be the best technological institute in Eastern Europe. I was inspired by many people from the speech of Benedict, who says Bulgaria could be #1 in Europe. Well, I think the realistic goal is to be the best technological institute in Eastern Europe. And the components of this Institute of Technology would be a non-based education, educate on people, new modern buildings, equipment, model curricula, following the ones in Harvard, MIT, etc. Invite professors from top institutes and also based basically on Bulgarian, good Bulgarian professors. One of the important points that was touched by many people was the brain drain and the brain gain. And we think it's absolutely vital to attract leading researchers from abroad and to support the best local researchers. The major aims of this initiative would be to recruit top specialists in priority areas particularly, where the local expertise is insufficient, and also this will lead to creating a critical mass in various priority areas, of course. The mechanisms that we see is first to create a virtual institute for advanced studies, and there is an analog in Spain where they have attracted many top scientists from abroad with very competitive salaries. The positions would be open to international context, but also local scientists should not be excluded because we can attract people from abroad, but we can lose the local people. And Benedict mentioned an example of Bulgarian scientists who had 7,000 citations. I can tell you from the list in the beginning, there are several that have 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 citations, and those who make 3,000 citations in Bulgaria, I would say are equivalent to those who make 10,000 citations in the United States. So it's also important to keep the top scientists locally, because there are many offers, as I told you. The world is not staying in one place. So we believe this could be a major mechanism to attract top scientists from abroad and also to keep top local scientists in Bulgaria. And there are many other mechanisms to support the Bulgarian research excellence, to reorganize the National Science Fund, the Innovation Fund, and to make it easy to operate, because now we see a lot of problems there. It's very slow, clumsy, and they need reorganization. And there are some optimistic signs because many people in the government, which we heard also today, they are willing to do that. We really believe they really see the problems and they will change this. One very important thing is to change the infrastructure of the building and the lab, because everybody knows how important is the lab infrastructure. And the universities and the academy should go hand by hand, no question about it. And there are many other important activities I will be happy to discuss all these seriously. Many people For example, we think that it's very important to create a system for evaluation and ranking of research institutions and individual researchers. The first steps are already in place from the Ministry of Education, which created a system for evaluation at universities, but this could be developed further. And create international scientific boards for research universities, etc., etc. One very important thing, the last thing, and I finish, is the education. Doctoral students here are not really in the way they should be, very low stipends, and we have, in order to keep them, we have to compete with the financial branch, and also with the ICT, of course, where they have factor of 5 higher salaries. My personal belief that the PhD studies should be based around project-based PhD, which is much higher salary and much more project-oriented, much more focused. And with this, I will thank you, and I have to answer questions.